For those of you that regularly tune into this show, you'll know I talk quite a bit about vulnerability. But more than that, I often share my own less than perfect experiences, times I've wildly cocked up, the costly mistakes I've made, my own struggles with my voice, my mental health problems. And why? Well, it's not for the sympathy vote, that's for sure, but because rather I believe deeply that the more I share with you, my lovely listeners, the more it will help you. And that's ultimately what I'm here for. Hello, I'm Hilary Solzman, and this is the Everyday Storyteller, a show for women just like me, and probably you, who have a voice but are not always that sure about sharing it. I listened to a talk recently between founder of Not on the High Street, Holly Tucker, and Spencer Matthews, who found fame on Made in Chelsea and is now a business owner and podcaster in his own right. Both had very different views on vulnerability. For Holly, an instinctively very private person, being more vulnerable, or as she put it, sitting in the uncomfortable chair, came slowly to her. As the host of her own podcast, Conversations of Inspiration, Holly has learned to share more as a result of her guests being very open with her. For Spencer, who grew up fast in the public eye, having every bit of his private life played out on screen, his vulnerability came with having to admit where that lifestyle had taken him, facing up to some difficult truths about his relationship with alcohol. Both Holly and Spencer are big believers in the growing importance of normalising vulnerability, and so am I. Now, I'm not saying that we should all be sharing our deepest, darkest secrets, far from it. But good storytelling is all about being authentic and knowing your audience. So for some of you, depending on what you do, sharing personal stuff might not be the right thing at all. But if it's authentic and if it's what your audience would like, then it can be really good. If you're looking to build deeper connections with your audience, being yourself or even pushing yourself to share a little bit more can make your audience feel very comfortable about opening up to you. In turn, creating trust and enabling you to have the types of conversations that are needed maybe to inspire them to take action and buy from you, or more importantly, buy into you. To help, and I know this isn't an easy space for many, here are a few of my top tips. Number 1. When you talk about your own experiences, you'll naturally display some of the emotions you felt at the time. So it will just already be a much more authentic interaction. You don't need to overwork it or overthink it. Just tell the story and the rest will follow. Tip number 2. Conflict is a very powerful storytelling tool. So don't be afraid to talk about times when you faced down potential disaster but succeeded in the end. Or even when actually you didn't succeed, but maybe you'd learned a key lesson from it. Number 3. Make sure your story has a positive message. Being vulnerable, as I said, isn't all about the sympathy vote, have people feeling sorry for you. It's about sharing in a way that helps your audience to do something, whether that's just feeling less alone in their own experiences or getting them to take action. And finally, number 4, invite your audience to share their own stories and give them a platform to do so, just like Holly. This could be as simple as asking them to respond to a question on your socials or in your newsletter, or inviting them to join you on an Instagram Live or a webinar. Being part of a discussion about vulnerability is often an easier route than just putting yourself out there alone. So do bring people into this with you. In business, in life, we do need to take risks, and that includes sometimes presenting a somewhat more honest version of ourselves when and if the time is right. But I really want to stress this, it is not a given, and if you don't feel comfortable now, ever, just do that, that is absolutely fine. Thanks for listening.